Hello everyone, I would like to start this video by thanking the Discord GPD users A123 Chris and Hello Debu for their help in this. Hello Debu provided me with a guide, and A123 Chris provided me with a nice thermal paste that was really hard to obtain and at a very high price because it was out of stock. So with that being said, let's get started. This is going to be a video regarding how to do thermal mods to your GPD Pocket Dune, and the mods we're going to be doing are obviously the thermal paste as I showed you, which is going to be an upgrade compared to the standard OEM one, and I also hope to put new thermal pads in. These ones are the Fujipoli 17 watt meter Kelvin pads, and I'm also going to put an extra couple of cheap ones which are just going to be there for other components to avoid overheating. And with that said, let's get started. I would like to mention I had already put some previous ones, however I want a little bit more performance, so they were insufficient. They were the 6 watt meter Kelvins, so they weren't really too good. They just did the job, but I still want to push a little bit further. So as you can see, I already opened up the computer. There's going to be some thermal pads from a previous attempt I did at opening it, and yeah, I'm just gonna move around them and ignore them, pretend they were not here. So yeah, this is the inside of the GPD. You have 6 screws that you're gonna have to remove from the panel. There's gonna be generally a protection sticker here. Just peel it off and proceed. There's 6 of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just take them all off, and the panel should come off pretty simply. Shouldn't be much of a problem. Now, this is the inside of the pocket. Here is the CPU. These are the components that I decided to pad up previous instances because I believe these are the RAM modules. This is the storage module, and this is the CPU as I mentioned. This is the heatsink. A couple of thermal pads here should assist in getting the heat into the chassis, so that way you just shoot it out faster and you can dissipate it with the air. But you don't necessarily have to do this, but I would prefer to go ahead with it like that. So let's get started here. So, as you can see, I have now removed all the thermal padding surface, and you can have a clearer look of the computer's internals. You get a little bit of residue left from the previous thermal pad, so if you see a little bit of blue stuff, that's what it is. It shouldn't be there. However, now we're going to go ahead and remove the CPU. I have already gone and unsecured the screws a little bit. I had a bit of a hard time getting into it, and I actually stripped this one just a tad little bit. But I don't think it should be a general problem going ahead. I'm just going to proceed and remove it and go ahead and clean the CPU. Now for cleaning the CPU, you would like to use isopropyl alcohol, but I will be using a bit of an unconventional method here just because I wanted to get it done today and I didn't want to wait further. I'm a bit of an impatient person, so you can get away with these ones, but the recommended utility would be 99% isopropyl alcohol, just because it would, evaporate faster and, leave less time for the CPU to be exposed to any residue, alcohol or water, whatever the hell's in this thing. So now we're going to go ahead and just unfasten the screws here. I'm going to zoom ahead a little bit. There's 4 screws holding this together, and you would like to go and remove all 4 of them. And be careful after to remove the heatsink assembly. Careful not to lose these screws. They're probably very hard to replace, so just put them aside. That's one. That's 2. Another one. And here's the last one. Now I would like to make a quick disclaimer here. I have never repasted a computer before, so this is the first time that I have removed the heatsink assembly and anything. So bear in mind if there are a couple of mistakes done, just take it as a lesson. This is more of a documentary rather than a tutorial, so at least you can know what to expect if you attempt it yourself or something goes wrong in this occasion. That way you avoid my mistakes if there's any, such as using non-endorsed methods. There we go. A quick reminder, try and avoid making contact with any metal surfaces. I should have used something with plastic, but since this is what I had in mind, I'm using metal stuff. You don't want to make contact with any of the components in here, just the risk of shorting it out. If you would like a little bit of peace of mind, you can disconnect the battery connector and go ahead, but I gave it a little bit of a nick while disconnecting it, so I just got a little scared, so I'm not going to do that this time. So now that this is done, we're going to go ahead and try and lift it, and the CPU paste should be just in here. I apologize for the quality, my phone's not really the best shooting camera. Technical difficulties. It's coming off. You can see some of the thermal paste in there from the OEM. Can't get the autofocus to work properly, so I'm getting a bit of potato quality here. Okay, so we got it to move. There we go. Okay, so the assembly is lifting off. Just want to be careful not to scratch anything. Be very careful when lifting, and you don't want to get some thermal paste as I have done here on the components. I'm gonna have to clean that off. Try and clear the lip here, which seems to want to erase itself. And here we go. There goes the heatsink. And what the hell is that? I think that's from my dog, so I'm just gonna proceed and remove that. Wow, she did a really bad job screwing my computer up. These fans can get quite dirty. So just go ahead and take the opportunity to clean it if you have anything. Wow. Here we can have a look at the heatsink assembly, and this is what we're going to have to clean up, this and the CPU itself. Unfortunately, I got a bit of a thermal paste problem as I got it into some of the components, but as long as you use alcohol to clean it, you should be fine. Just avoid smudging it like I did for when you attempt this. Just try and lift it clean straight up. So we're going to go ahead and clean the CPU first. I hope this method works, or I'm going to have to cut the video and probably resume it later on with the proper alcohol. This should be fine though. No, they're a lot thinner than I thought it would be. Okay. Oh, it's working. Uh-oh. It actually seems to be working relatively fine. I can see a nice shiny CPU. Now I'm going to try and clean around the edges and get the rest of the solution around the areas and crevices. As you can see there, I got a little bit on the sides that I shouldn't have smudged. Let's go ahead and really be careful with the components not to bend or twist anything, as these are metal frail components. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. I'm going to go ahead and discard the first one. Hope nobody gets a heart attack from watching me doing this with wipes. Try and be a little more efficient with my wipes since I'm already running out. Let's try the heatsink. Again, just try and remove it as best as you can until it looks nice and shiny. That stuff seems to be stuck in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and get it off somehow. Gonna have to try a bit of a more unconventional method. Please don't follow my procedure here. And it was for nothing, it didn't work. Great. I'm gonna cut here and just try and go ahead and remove that just because I don't want it to hamper my efficiency with the new paste, and I'll be back. Okay, so after trying my hand at a pathetic attempt of cleaning it up, I somewhat succeeded. I wasn't able to get the things from the crevices out, unfortunately, but I guess it's gonna have to do because I'm taking too much time to do this and I want to get it done with. That's the CPU, nice and shiny. So I did succeed with that. I got still some left over in the parts around it, but I don't think it's anything threatening. I can't really remove it too well, so I'm gonna have to leave it as is. So now we're gonna go ahead into the interesting part, which is the paste. So we're gonna apply a little sprinkle dot. Oh, my first time doing this, so I'm gonna try a little test surface here. Let's see. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. So we're gonna do an X pattern. Hopefully I get this right in my first attempt. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more cleanup, which I really don't want to. On second thought, I think I'm gonna do a line shape. Should be a little less complicated. Okay, that's enough. Stop it. I don't think that was a bad first attempt at all, actually. So here's how it turned. Nice line. Hopefully that works. Doesn't seem like it's too little. Top on right. So now we're gonna go ahead and finally reinstall the damn heatsink. So we're gonna try and fit this part. Careful over the lip. You don't want to peel it off. That would be inconvenient. Replace the heatsink, and finally, here's the kicker. We are going to have to put this on the first try, and you do not look back. Once it's on, do not take it off. Air pockets can form around the compound, so you're gonna have to get it right on the first try, so make sure you're committed. Here we go. Wish me luck, guys. Give it a little budge, so that way you can expand it around the surface. And clear this wire before you put any screws back. I don't see anything oozing out of the side, so I think that was a successful attempt. So that was pretty good. Hopefully it wasn't too little. If it was, I'll suffer for it, so I will let you guys know, so that way you learn from my mistake. Now we're gonna go ahead and re-screw at last the little mount. These screws here are actually quite hard to get off when you first try and open this thing, so I'm just going to remind you, it may take a little bit more force. Make sure you use the right side screw and not to strip the screws, kind of like I did with this one here. There will be no way to take it out otherwise, unless you do a more clever method. go. I will make sure to list all the components in the description that I used to alter it. The page was Cooler Master Gel Maker compound. It's rated at 11 watts meter Kelvin. So it's pretty good, up there with Cryonaut almost. Cryonaut's only a fraction if I remember better. So there we go. Our heatsink's nice and tidy on there. If I can only get this phone to focus properly. Nothing oozing out of the sides. If you see a little left over, that's from the previous compound, which I couldn't really clean too thoroughly. Hopefully it won't cause any harm. And now just make sure that the heatsink goes on properly. Just try and fit it in there. There we go. Another day's work. Feels a little bit jumpier than when I took it out first, but when I put the back cover on, this should correct itself, so I'm not going to concern myself too much over it. Now that that is done, we can finally go ahead and go with the thermal pads, as I mentioned earlier. So the ones I am using are these bad boys and these ones. I will list them in the description, if only my phone can focus. There we go. These are the ones I'm using. These ones are no more than 10 bucks. They're generally quite cheap, but these ones here, they're quite expensive. So you can see this is the ones I have. This is amongst the best ones you can get, if not the best ones. And they look something like this. They're very frail to the hand, so I gotta be very careful with it, almost like clay, as somebody has described them to me. And these ones are the regular ones. These are 1 millimeter, and these are 1.5 millimeters. This is for expendable components that I just don't want overheating, but it's nothing essential. This is for the CPU and all the other components. So what I would recommend doing, as I did the first time when I first used these thermal pads here that I just kept over on the side because I'll maybe be able to reuse them, is cut out a piece of paper and match the dimensions of it, and that way you can just cut the piece of paper into smaller bits and see where your dimensions would be. Now you want to be able to match the components sizes, say the RAM modules and such, and here you're gonna need around 3 millimeters of height. Here you're gonna need around possibly 2 millimeters of height. Here's going to be 1 millimeter on the sides here flanking the heat pipe, and then another extra layer on top. And as you can see, this is the previous setup I used for the heatsink before. I want to try and copy that, so you got 2 little pieces on the sides just to fill in the gaps here because it's a bit of a depression. I'm going to try and show you. It's not really even, so you want to be able to fill that gap, and then there's a little bit of a higher gap. So you're going to need around 2 millimeters of surface collectively from the sides, but only 1 millimeter here. Here you're going to need 3. You may be able to put some other stuff around, but I'm just going to use that for the expendable ones. and 2mm here. People have put thermal pads in these areas or in other components where you just don't want them to overheat. That's exactly what I bought this bad boy for. But I'm gonna start by just making cutouts of the piece of paper and hopefully trying to match them. So it's a bit of a tedious process, but I'm just gonna fast forward ahead and show you guys the end result. As I mentioned, you have to cut it out to dimensions, and then you will find that you can make a better use out of your space. So I took a bit of a dimension approximation here. As you can see, I cut it out almost to shape, and then I proceeded to slice it in the way that I think it's going to be necessary. So, you know, you only get one shot of this, especially when this kind of things are expensive. You don't really want to cut them and waste any surface area. You want to put it to maximum usage. So I'm going to show you how this looks on the surface, just as a little sample of what I can expect. By doing that, I found that I was wasting some little surface area here. So I cut it to size for here, and this is generally what you can expect. Since it's 1mm, I'm going to put one on each side, and then I'm going to proceed to put two here, top of each other, and then I'm going to put some on the heatsink, and that's generally what I want to do with this little setup here. Now, there's a little bit of gaps that I left empty here, so I'm going to use just a regular thermal paste for that, which I should have more to play with, and it should be more disposable in case, you know, it's not necessary. And then I'm going to use it for the RAM modules, so I don't really need to measure that one. And other stuff, such as the USB ports and such, which I've been meaning to do from a previous attempt, but I just ran out of surface area. That's why I bought even more this time. So with all that being said, let's see the before and after. And here you go. That's the final result. So as you can see, I really exceeded the limits of what a regular person should really do. Theoretically, you only need to put thermal pads here, 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 maybe a little bit on the heatsink, and that's it. But since I intend to run this with an unlocked TDP of up to 12.5 watts, I'm probably going to require as much. This little piece here is not really fastening, so I might just take that one out. There we go. I'm going to require as much cooling as possible there, therefore I require all this. I also did the repaste as you saw earlier. So this is probably the most over-the-top variant of a Pocket 2 that you can achieve, but yeah, I hope this little walkthrough helped you, and now we just gotta close it back up and we're ready to go. I'm wondering if it's actually gonna close, but let's see. Yes, it is. A little bit of force required, but once the screws are on, that should not be a problem. Just gotta get them to stick. Again, I may have done a couple of mistakes along the video, things that you shouldn't do, such as, for example, you're not supposed to use lint fibers when wiping your CPU, just as a reminder to people. Or I should have possibly spread some of the thermal compound. Yeah, just make sure to go over those things if you want to get it done in a different way. Otherwise, I'm hoping this should work for me. Technical difficulties with the screws. Just as a reminder, this is my first video ever I have uploaded on YouTube, so also for that I do apologize for any inconsistencies with the video angles and such. It's my first time ever doing a video. It's for educational purposes. So from the looks of it, I'm struggling to shut it, so I'm wondering whether or not I put too many thermal pads. Let's see if I can get it to shut. I'll come back around to that. There you have it, nice and flush. So I guess it did fit and put a little bit of resistance more than I would have liked. But at the end of the day, everything still worked out just fine. I'm probably just going to go over all the screws and refasten them just to make sure they're nice and snug. Oh, I got a little more twist here. That's how fast it goes. There you have it. Well, let's see if it's alive still. And she lives. So that's exactly how to do a successful thermal mine. Feels a little bit actually heavier by a couple of grams, but I could definitely feel it with my hand. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and as always, special thanks to A123 Chris for providing with the thermal paste. And I used a little bit of Hello Divu Sky from these are users from the Discord forum. Hang around there with the name of Ragusaucy, so if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, expect future videos with more tutorials on how to fully unlock the capacity of this computer with the throttle stop and undervolting and such, which definitely lets you squeeze quite a lot more performance out of it. I'm expecting some, hopefully, thermal tests, and I will be following up. Thanks for watching, guys, and sorry for the rookiness and everything from the first video. As I said, I've never done a video before. I wanted to do this to give back to the community and help some people, since this is one of the questions that people ask. How do you repaste? How do you apply thermal pads? There you have it. Thanks for watching.